Hey everybody, welcome back to Yays and Booze for AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts that happened last night. Ooh, I'm fired up. What a show. What a show. And I get it. It's for the sickos. This was a real definitive AEW Dynamite episode that was really sicko aimed, I guess you can say. But this is Yays and Booze. I have your hot takes. I'm going to give it a yay or a boo. If you're new here, a yay means I agree. A boo, that means I disagree. And everything we do is one take. Before we get started, please make sure you're leaving your like, subscribe, turn on the bell for notifications, comment, do all the other stuff. Follow me on everything. Patreon.com/John Moonsault for a bunch of wrestling match watch-alongs. We're having a good time over there. Folks, let's get right underway. I know a lot of people didn't like this show. I loved it. A lot of people loved it. I shouldn't start with saying that. A lot of people loved it. And then people that are like, ew, no, didn't like it. And we're not one of these people on this channel. All right, first take here says the woman should have main evented. Simple as that. What a yay we are starting out with. The women's WARGAMES match, top to bottom, start to finish, was electric. 9 minutes into the show, we had Sky Blue covered in Sky Red. Oh my God. She said, "This is my match." She looked insane. Put her on a West Side Gun album. We're going to talk about West Side Gun a little later. And call me crazy, but the women's match made the men's match look like some baby shit. The women went crazy. I'm being a little hyperbolic. The men's match was really good. That last 8 minutes of the men's match was electric. It was a slow start. But what more can I say? Going into it, I think I heard a rumor that the women were going to main event, and I get the Death Rider story and Jon Moxley potentially being kicked out, which we're also going to talk about, a little later in the show, potentially being ousted as the leader. I mean, that's all going to be sick. But the women's match, man, star-studded. You got Tony, Mercedes, Harley, Willow, Stat, Tekla, Sky Blue, Julia Hart. Oh my God, did I get everyone? I don't know why I tried to just get everyone at once. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna keep talking in circles here. But in terms of overall violence and cool spots, creativity, blood and or guts, the women had it from top to bottom. It was a very compelling match, and I'm not just saying it to say it, but the women had the men so easy, not even. It's not even close. I'm sick of being. I gotta be temperamental, and I gotta be even and balanced and be like, oh, well, this was good and this was also good. No, the women's match had that show by a country mile, deserved to main event. Tony, put them on the main event next year. First ever women's blood and guts match, which was surprising to me. I guess I couldn't remember another women's blood and guts match for that reason, but what a showing of a first match. We're gonna move on. I could talk about how sick this was for the whole episode, which we probably are gonna do, but what a opener, what a match of the year contender. I mean, first of all, this show was for sure, maybe Dynamite of the Year contender, and the women's WarGames match, blood and guts match, excuse me. Oh boy, here are the comments now. Match of Year contender. All right, moving on. All right, sticking with the women's match, Toni Storm forfeiting the match was a brilliant move because it makes both teams look strong and elevates Mina and Tony's partnership. I fully agree. I really enjoyed the ending. This is getting a yay. Now, I can't recall specific moments, right now off the top of my head, but wrestling, WWE, AEW, whatever, have done these moments before where it's the person's friend or partner is being choked out and refuses to submit, and the other person ends the match for them or throws in the towel or whatever. We've seen that before. But with that said, we have seen it before, but this was done so well, executed to perfection. We've really been growing and looking at the Tony Mina Shirakawa relationship really ever since the beginning of the Mariah May story back when that started. I mean, it concluded this year, but we're talking that story still exists in 2024, I believe. So we've kind of seen through all this time trials and tribulations, Tony and Mina Shirakawa growing closer, Mina helping out Tony and vice versa. Now with the women's tag team belts existing now, Toni Storm and Mina as partners in the tournament looking to get gold, which I think the second one these titles were announced and two, Tony lost the title. That's what people were looking for immediately, or looking at immediately, is these two are going to form a team. They'd be great inaugural champions. And I believe they're still in the tournament. I'm not going to fact check right now, but regardless, just a beautiful moment of Mina Shirakawa being tough as nails. I mean, the submission she was put in by Shafir was crazy. And then the 3 or 4 women holding Tony's face and causing her to look at your best friend. We're gonna break her back. Oh my God, you don't want to see this, but we're gonna force you to see it. And Tony just being we forfeit or we surrender. She said it in a timeless way, but she's we forfeit, we surrender. And I want to save you, Mina. It's at the cost of blood and guts. It's at the cost of the match, the bad gals will take the dub. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the relationship kind of grows. Are we eventually going to get a turn? I mean, like, I say that, but I'm kind of rolling my eyes. Like, I hope not. I'm so sick of where it's the natural progression of wrestling where it's a tag team, it's a partnership, and then someone eventually turns on someone. That's just the way it goes. I don't think we need to do that with Tony and Mina. I think Tony and Mina can be solid. Do I want to see Brody King and almost said Brodito, Bandito turn on each other eventually? Not necessarily. We don't always have to have someone turn on each other. Not that that was a problem or a prompt. I just kind of made that up in my head. But yeah, both teams looked great. All 10 women in the match. I think it was a 5v5. Looked fantastic. Really, really cool ending that just like the heels did so much to like isolate Tony and Mina too. So that was really creative in the sense of like, yeah, they were isolated, had no other option, and Tony just had to. Now, if it was Tony in that submission, Tony would have passed out or died before she tapped out, but she cares about Mina so much. Throws in the towel for her. Love it. If I didn't say yay yet, it's obviously getting a yay. Moving on. Good to see AEW show West Side Gun on screen during Hobbs versus Hangman. Okay, yes, and this is getting a yay, but I've seen a couple of people talk about this, and just because WWE is like the bigger company and the headlines will grow larger whenever WWE does something, which I haven't really talked about too much, and I'll preface this, it's bullshit that WWE kicked out lifelong fans and promoter of wrestling, promoter in the sense of, I mean, he is, fourth rope, but also heels have eyes, but like promoter in the sense of, showing people wrestling and putting a cool spotlight on wrestling. And for WWE to like kick him out, and he had this like long post, he spent so much money on shows and gear, he's been a lifelong supporter, and how heartbreaking it was for him to get kicked out of something he loves. He's still gonna support because he loves it and it's this whole thing, but like how disappointing is that? It's really, really bullshit that WWE kicked out West Side Gun, and then they're showing, they never show West Side Gun either. They're showing Post Malone and Jelly Roll or whatever, but will never acknowledge West Side Gun, and it's bullshit. Now, again, I do enjoy that, sure, AEW. This isn't a WWE thing. West Side Gun has been going to AEW shows for years. He's done theme songs for AEW wrestlers. I'm pretty sure he's performed on AEW TV. He's been with AEW in front row like basically since the start and has been such a big OG supporter. So we don't need to make this even though I did say it's bullshit WWE did it, we don't need to make this another AEW and WWE, and that was AEW taking a shot at WWE by showing West Side Gun. No, West Side Gun's been there for years. He was gonna be there regardless. And what are they gonna do? West Side Gun was talked about in WWE news. Let's blur out West Side Gun. No, it's not everything. And I'm not even saying that this person that posted this comment is taking the sort of stance, kind of using this as a broad, soapbox, I guess. But what I will say, it is cool, like I said, WWE is so, corny and weird about it, but it is cool that AEW has in the past and still continues to welcome a West Side Gun. But this isn't a case of what a lot of people think. I think a lot of people who are WWE fans and not really AEW fans see this and don't know the connection. So this is kind of me. If you're a WWE fan watching this, which this is mainly gonna be watched by AEW fans, so maybe I'm just speaking out into the void of all this because all AEW fans already know this. But I don't know. Lost my train of thought there. But yeah. All right, moving on. No need for a middle match between the big two. I'm ready for a boo, but there's already so much wrestling to watch week to week between all of the brands. But it's really dope. They gave us what they did. Okay, I imagine you are talking about the Powerhouse Hobbs and Hangman match being placed in between the Blood and Guts match on Blood and Guts. Now, I get what you're saying. I am gonna give this a boo, but hear me out, because I do see what you're saying and agree with a lot of your sentiment. Quick part out of the way. I'm giving this a boo because I did really enjoy Hangman and Powerhouse Hobbs. I thought it was great. I thought the ending was killer. If you didn't like that ending, I don't think you like wrestling. I don't think that's a hot take. But a boo for a couple reasons. One, while I did enjoy it, they didn't need to push this show, an extra half hour just for the sake of adding in more stuff, because it was Blood and Guts, and I think we all would have been satisfied with just Blood and Guts match and then maybe a little something, some sort of breather, maybe a segment or whatever, and Blood and Guts match. However, with that said, the segment we didn't need, and I'm, contrary to maybe some popular belief, I don't know, I usually look at, the glass half full, some things on the positive side, but the FTR and Ricky Steamboat segment was so unnecessary and kind of, it dragged on so long. And I love Ricky Steamboat. He's one of my favorite legends. I think he's so slept on in the modern day in modern discussions. And I love FTR. I know these two do have history. FTR were a part part of Ricky Steamboat's final match, and there was history in North Carolina there to discuss. But like, I don't know, it should have either been shorter or just cut entirely. Point being is the main reason for this boo is I would rather the Ricky Steamboat segment get cut. Give us Hangman and Hobbs, because Hangman and Hobbs didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't that long of a match, and they gave us everything we needed to hype up the Full Gear match. You know, and then we got like which I thought was a really cool transition where Joe wanted the cage lowered. Cage was going to get lowered anyway for the match preceding it, but it was a cool thing to like, we have to lower the cage anyway. Let's just make it part of the show and not waste any time. AEW was really good at doing that. And you got the Hook and Shibata stuff, and then Eddie Kingston coming in, and it wrapped up nicely. Let's just have that. We didn't need Ricky Steamboat. I don't know, again, talking in circles, but that's the only reason I'm giving you a boo. While I don't disagree that like I would have been satisfied, and I think we could have just kept the 2 hours of Blood and Guts match, a little bit of a break, 5-minute cool down, Blood and Guts match. But I don't know. I'm curious what everyone in the comments thinks that FTR Ricky Steamboat match. Because like on its own, like I guess it was a fine segment. I do still stand on the fact that it dragged a little bit and it felt unnecessary. But like, especially sandwiched between the 2 Blood and Guts match and, you know, with the Hangman Hobbs match, it felt a little chunky to get to the real meat and potatoes of what we want, that being the Blood and Guts matches. Give Kyle O'Reilly everything in AEW, but seriously, him getting over these past few weeks. So I'm really happy for him, man. Shout out Kyle O'Reilly, I don't want to say slept on, but the low-key MVP of the night / just the men's match in general. And listen, hey, I'm sending this out to the universe. Kyle O'Reilly, are you okay? Can you see straight? Are you dizzy? Do you have enough fluids in your body? Bro, first of all, we're starting on the night with Sky Blue leaking, brother. And then Kyle O'Reilly said, you think Jon Moxley would be jealous of that? Kyle O'Reilly going out there being like, oh, watch this. You think the mat's not red enough? I'll make it red. Bro, Kyle O'Reilly. Oh, I've never seen, well, that's a lie. I have seen. It gave me flashbacks because we're on the retirement tour. I'm still so filled with nostalgia right now. John Cena versus JBL, when John Cena has the full crimson mask and his whole body is red. It was getting to that point. It wasn't quite at that point, not just immediately undermine something. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it gave me notes of that. God, Kyle O'Reilly, so good. He is such a wrestler's favorite wrestler. Now, he's not a guy that's like all flashy and whatever, and he is someone that I do think has to work uphill to like prove himself and whatever, because he lacks maybe a push or time on the mic or I don't know, I'm about to say this, pizzazz, I don't know, but when he gets in the ring, man, when we're just talking grab. So I believe it was O'Reilly and Moxley to end it. The whole match is a car crash. It's a death match style or just hardcore match style where everyone's bloody. There's a lot of forks being used, which people hate. I don't mind it. But there's weapons and shenanigans. I loved that the last sequence of the match was, again, I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley just scrapping and doing real grabs and transitioning into holds, and then him getting the ankle lock, Moxley reversing it, rolling, getting back into the ankle lock, like ending that sorry, Jesus Christ, Blood and Guts match. That's a giant cage with 2 rings. There's trash and carnage everywhere, and you're going to end that match with just some real just grabs from Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley, and I really hope I'm getting, it was definitely Jon Moxley that ended it, and I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly that also ended it, but I hope I'm getting that right, because that whole point's invalid if Kyle O'Reilly was not involved in the finish. But still, point being, he's great, and I would love to see him get some sort of singles title, be it the TNT Championship or whatever. I think he deserves it. I think Mox is about to be outed as the leader of the Death Riders. He submitted or quit multiple times recently, and the rest of the group will start to believe he's not as great of a leader as he claims to be. Marina being the new leader would be cool and create a different dynamic for the group. Have I given a boo this episode? Yes, I have, but this is getting a yay. I was skeptical about the story in terms like, I love the Death Riders. I like Jon Moxley's position in it, but I do also really love the story of him quitting to Darby broke him. He was the guy that he doesn't tap, and you'll have to kill him, and Darby pushed him to his limit. Ever since quitting to Darby, his confidence has been gone. He's had to cheat, in crazy ways to prevent him from tapping out. He's tapped out, I think, previously before, between the Darby match and his Blood and Guts match, and then to end this match again, tapping out, he gave up again. Darby broke him. He's a shell of his former self. And the Death Riders, similar to Blackpool Combat Club, which I really love about these two factions, is if you show weakness, they're not gonna hesitate to jump on you or kick you out if you're showing, any sort of weak link. And who's gonna stop the Death Riders from kicking out Jon Moxley? They got Pac, Marina Shafir, Claudio, fuck you, Yuta, Gabe Kidd. I mean, there's some muscle in there. I'm just kidding, Yuta. I love Yuta. There's some muscle in the Death Rider. So if Marina Shafir makes the call and everyone is more behind Marina Shafir because they're shaky on Moxley's leadership and toughness, they're gonna destroy Moxley. Maybe that probably would lead to a Moxley, maybe like, hopefully he takes some time off so we can kind of miss you. But then coming back as face Moxley, still with this like badass, like I'm here to wreak havoc, I'm back persona, would be really cool. But yeah, Marina Shafir, like over the past, like, I mean, through this whole Death Rider story, she's really proven herself as like a top person, character, whatever, in the company. But I would say especially over the last like month or two, she's, being like Moxley's right-hand ace, you know what I mean? Being what feels like second in the ranks at this point. And I think we are now going to, not an overthrow, but just like a hey, you're no longer who you used to be. We're moving on from you. And Marina as the leader is so sick. I love it. It's refreshing. No other wrestling company feels like it's doing something like that right now. It'd be really cool. And they have the momentum. Marina is so over. She looked fantastic in the Blood and Guts match. She's so versatile. So yeah, I'm about it. That's a yay. That's a yay for sure. See ya, Mox. The Ricky Steamboat segment was a waste of time and honestly could have been used for something else. Maybe another match, maybe more time for one of the Blood and Guts matches. Either way, it didn't add anything meaningful to the show. Now, I already kind of gave my 2 cents here, so I won't go super long, but this is getting a yay. I do think, not that I'm complaining about, Dynamite being 2.5 hours, who cares, but yeah, it got to a point where I was like, all right, like, I don't know, the Blood and Guts matches are so good with the current stars. We don't really need the nostalgia, legend injection here. And all respect to Ricky Steamboat. Again, I love Ricky, but I'm giving this a yay because I also don't feel like we needed it. It could have been used for another Dynamite. I mean, granted, they were in North Carolina. There was a reason that they did it, but I don't know. It felt a little shoehorned into me. I agree. The Julia Hart and Tekla crawling through the parts of the cage was a cool idea and visual to give a reason to set up the open the door gimmick. If you are doing it twice, it has to be done differently. And with one being a basic one, they gave us a creative one first. That's a great way to look at it. I fully agree. It's getting a yay. Now, that is the, call it a problem or worry going into a match like this. Especially after the women's one, I was like, what do the men have left? What are the men going to do? The women went crazy, already gave us shock values. Like, we used chains and tacks and whatever. And there was a point where the men did then also use tacks. And it was like, oh, like they're doing this. There's only so much you can do. And point being, that is a problem or worry. But I think last night on Dynamite, AEW did a really good job at still making both of these Blood and Guts matches feel different and creative. Like you said, the Julia Hart and Tekla, like I've never seen anything like that before. So creative. To me, that was someone just like, through practice or whatever, going like, hey, can we fit through that? Boom. That's the spot, and now it's a big part of the match. Because yes, both matches did end up going outside of the cage, which again can be looked at as like, oh well, we're getting similar stuff. But like for Tekla and Julia to start out doing that, escaping the cage, and then also the men later on doing like, we haven't even talked about Darby going through a flaming table. I don't know if there's like any takes about that, but like them also, the difference of Briscoe and was it Yuta? Up at the top, on top of the cage. The women didn't do that. And the women also did so much stuff that the men didn't do. So while there were similarities, but AEW did do a really good job at making them feel different and doing unique spots. At this point, like, we're progressing so much in wrestling and doing creative stuff. Like, the fact that we're still innovating with just like cage and weapons, whatever, is so cool. It's cool to see AEW and these athletes more so, who should be getting credit, elevate these sort of spots and making things still feel fresh and exciting. But when they did that spot, I was applauding for the creativity. So this is getting a yay if I didn't say it already. All right, last one here. Mox being the default coward is getting stale. He looks like a bitch now, and to be honest, and he's losing any credibility. At this point, I'd rather have Yuta go to war at my side than Mox. All right, listen, before y'all get mad or whatever, I can't tell. There should be like, on Reddit, there's like a slash serious tag or whatever, slash sarcastic, whatever. We have to start noting stuff as like slash kayfabe. Oh, this comment and me saying this is in kayfabe, because in kayfabe, I love this. I was going to take this and be like, hey, I'll take this 2 ways. One, well, maybe it's kind of the same way. 1, 2, whatever. It's yes, you are correct. House of Brodito at Brodito with some cool zeros with the slashes through. Yes, this is how the story is supposed to be looking. You're supposed to feel just like how the Death Riders feel, not confident in Moxley. He's supposed to look more like quote unquote, like you said, a bitch and losing credibility and a coward. He's supposed to be showing weakness, and he's not the guy he used to be. He's broken. And the way this is worded, I do think this is self-aware and in kayfabe, and it sucks to have to sit here and be like, am I taking this in kayfabe? And no, because that's how I prefer to watch and talk about wrestling, is in kayfabe. I should be talking about this Jon Moxley story in kayfabe, being like, damn, he's kind of seeming like a coward, and I do feel like I do a decent job at that. But my instincts were to jump on this, which I don't like. My instincts were to jump on this and be like, hey, well, this is getting a boo because that means you're watching it right and they got you and you're doing the right thing. But in turn, I'm gonna give this a yay, because if that's how you kayfabe feel, generally feel, or whatever, I think that's the point, and you nailed it on the head, whether this is kayfabe or not. That's the emotion they're trying to elicit, and you nailed it. So this is getting a yay. Does any of that make sense? I didn't make a whole lot of sense in my brain, but I don't know. With that said, folks, that's Yays and Boos. Leave your comments with what you agree with, what you disagree with, some more hot takes we didn't cover in this week's episode, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, check out the Patreon, do all this stuff. You get it. Check out Stash Club stuff, the rest of stuff on my channel. I'll see you next time. Thank you again for being here. Peace.